The war next door, it's happening in Mexico. Kidnappings on the rise south of the border. We don't mean to startle you, but it's a real situation. Our Anna Garcia went to kidnapping school to show you how to avoid becoming a victim. Cars, they're everywhere, especially in Southern California. But what if your neighbor had dozens of them? What if your neighbor had 48 of them? What if they're parked all over your street? Probably wouldn't make you very happy. Oh, but you'll be happy about this.
Rent too damn high is my thing. Jimmy McMillan is my name. Vote for Jimmy McMillan at the Rent Too Damn High party, November 2nd.
That's right. The rent is too damn high. The man that stole the show at New York's governor's debate put out a rap song to get out the vote. It didn't work, but then again, we're playing it, so maybe it did. All the stories people are talking about and everything you need to know right now on The Filter. Hello again off the top, The Filter forefront, our top four of the day, including, would you like your name and salary published in the newspaper? But we'll begin with this. In 2006, Prop 83 was passed by California voters, better known as Jessica's Law. It restricted residency requirements on sex offenders, including requirements forbidding them from residing 2,000 feet from any public or private school or park where kids regularly gather. If you're a parent, no doubt you like that law. If you're a Superior Court judge by the name of Peter Espinoza, you think that law is unconstitutional. Espinoza sit idly by in the face of immediate, ongoing, and significant violations of parolee constitutional rights. The problem, because of the law, many sex offenders can't find a place to live. For example, most of San Francisco is off limits because of the number of parks and schools close to housing. Bottom line, since sex offenders can't find enough places to live, that law is unconstitutional. Our contributors, civil rights attorney and radio talk show host Leo Terrell, and Ron Kaye from RonKayLA.com. Our pictures are furnished by Skype. Here we go, Leo. Giving sex offenders a place to live or giving parents peace of mind, what's more important here?
Well, I'll tell you right now, the compelling state interest is to give parents and children a peace of mind. You know what? The judge may be right constitutionally, but it's going to be very unpopular. And that Superior Court judge, Fred, is going to be up for a re-election in every 12 years, and he might get voted out. My biggest concern is this. You cannot deny a person a right to live somewhere. And these sex offenders don't have a place to live. On the other hand, there's a compelling state interest to protect children. And I think that the law is justified because the interest to protect children is so high. And these so-called sex offenders are guilty of crimes. So right now, I think the law would hold up, but there are some constitutional questions because the sex offender does have a right to find a place of residence.
I understand that, but Ron, here's the situation. Even though they have a right to find a place of residence, if you have young children, would you like to know that they're living right next to you?
No, I wouldn't. But I'd keep a vigilant eye. I would like to know that information, and that's one way of dealing with it, is that anybody within 2,000 feet of them gets informed. Would be an intelligent way to make sure everybody in the neighborhood knew who these people are. But you have a city as large as San Francisco where there isn't a single place that a sex offender can live. And then you have cities surrounding L.A. that pass even tougher laws that drive them out. And, of course, L.A., which tolerates every form of criminality, isn't so tough. So we've got all the sex offenders in the state, or a large proportion of them. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. We're so into trying to protect ourselves. I mean, this is a thorny issue. These people are repetitive in their crimes, but we're not just singling out child molesters. We're attacking anybody who's got any form of a sex crime and putting this ban on them in a way that's unenforceable. I mean, the Constitution rules all of our lives.
Well, I agree with that. But still in all, I wouldn't want, and maybe I'm in the minority, but I wouldn't want a sex offender living right next to my kids. I mean, I simply would not want that. All right, let's move on. The city of Anaheim voted to do away with red light cameras. Outgoing Mayor Kurt Pringle said, doesn't think it's right for the city to use the cameras to benefit financially. Okay. In Los Angeles, the cameras have actually cost the city money, but the city council decided to install more of them. How would you feel if the city decided to monitor more than just running red lights with them? How about in Britain? Those cameras also detect speeders, tailgaters. Also takes a picture inside the car. See if you're wearing your seatbelt. With the information transmitted by the cameras, officials there can also check your insurance And if you paid your taxes, is this a glimpse into the future, or is the invasion of privacy so great that it would never play here, Ron?
Big Brother is watching us day and night. Cameras on the streets, cameras everywhere, recording everything that happens. I mean, look, this is all a scam. It's nothing but a lousy way for governments to raise revenue. I was out at Marina Del Rey County Park over the weekend, and they're charging a quarter for every 10 minutes for meters that don't work. And there's a big sign says if it doesn't work, we're still going to cite you for a $60 ticket. If you run a red light in LA with one of these cameras, it's a $500 fine. If you go speeding on the freeway, it's a $200 fine, 15 miles an hour. Which is the greater crime and the greater risk to society? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. This is nothing but persecution of the people who actually will pay the tickets. And in LA, half the people don't pay the tickets. It's only a punishment against those who actually will pay. I mean, this is just repressive government tactics to get money out of us any way that they can.
Leo, what do you think?
Wrong. First of all, let me be clear. There is no invasion of privacy. You don't have you don't have any privacy rights when you're on public streets. And let's be clear about this. You know, despite the fact that it's losing money, the idea of stopping people who are not wearing seatbelts, people who are not having who does not have insurance, people who are running red lights, that is perfectly legal for government to make sure these people are cited. Because there is I want to repeat this, no expectation of privacy when you're out injecting yourself in the public. I don't see anything wrong with it. I can't understand why it's not raising money, because there are people running red lights. There are people on their cell phones, and these people cause accidents and cause death on the road. So I am perfectly 100% in favor of it, Fred. I just want to make sure it's more efficient as far as from a financial standpoint.
Leo, let me ask you something. We're almost out of time here, but in Britain, they can actually check if you paid your taxes or not. They can look in there, look at you, go to a database and realize you haven't paid your taxes. Is that right?
Fred, we're in public. If you and I walk on the street, why should we expect otherwise? So if we have information in our car and stuff that they can see, there is no expectation of privacy.
But let me ask you this. We're in public. You and I are walking down the street. We don't expect Los Angeles city officials to be watching us and monitoring our every move, do we?
Well, Fred, I'll tell you right now, there's surveillance cameras at parks to watch gangbangers and everything else. If we happen to inject ourselves in the public, I don't see how we can say foul from the government.
Hey, wait a minute. I'd like to have cameras in the back rooms of every government agency in this state. Those are public buildings. Let's put the cameras on the politicians, where all the backroom dirty deals are.
Well, that's another story. But you know what? There's cameras in government buildings, public streets. There's no expectation of privacy.
All right, let's move on here. Let's go. People in Southern California love cars. There are more car collectors here than anywhere in the country. Are you aware of that? Some people rent garages or warehouses to store their cars. Mark Schaff has 48 different cars, but he takes a different approach. He simply parks them around the unincorporated area of West Covina. Some of the cars are nice. Some of the cars look like they belong at a junkyard. How much are they worth? Nobody knows, since Schaff refuses to answer his door to talk about it. There's one thing that is definite. Many residents don't think it's right for one man to park 50 cars on the street. Now, in Los Feliz, there's a similar issue. It's not one man parking 50 cars, but a number of people are parking cars on the street with for sale signs on them. It's like a used car lot. Residents there aren't happy. Should there be a law prohibiting people from parking 50 cars on the street? Should there be a law prohibiting people from turning the street into a used car lot, Leo?
No. I want to park 100 cars. What? As long as he's parking within the restricted time periods, tell me what he's doing wrong. He simply has 60 cars. If he has 100 cars, 200 cars, absolutely not.
Leo, you and I live on the same street. Fair enough?
Okay.
We're neighbors, right?
Okay. I want to be your neighbor.
And I want to be yours. I park 50 cars.
I'm not sure I want to be Leo's neighbor.
That's all right. It's all right. I park 50 cars up and down the street and around the corner. You have friends come over, there's nowhere to park. Okay. Is that right? Is that right?
Fred, is that right? Yes, as long as he's parked within the normal time zones. Fred, sometimes when I have friends over, the streets are all filled up with my neighbors' friends. If they're parked legally, what's my beef?
Leo, one person parking 50 cars? Some of them don't even run?
Hey, I just don't
they're
get
legally parked.
Go ahead, Ron.
They're legally parked.
Oh, please,
I
go
just
ahead.
don't get it. Leo wants cameras watching us day and night and every move we make, but a guy who trashes his whole neighbor who's nothing but a rat pack of the worst sort. It's one thing to get rat pack stuff in your house or your yard. It's another thing to do it all over the neighborhood. Look, this guy isn't doing it. The sheriff isn't enforcing it. This is in Covina, in an unincorporated area. If the sheriff can't crack down on him, on every car that wasn't moved, on every car that was on a street unregistered, this guy would be pushed out of business and the neighborhood would be happy again. People got rights to live like a human being. This isn't a party one night at somebody's house. This is a day in and day out attack on people's quality of life.
Ron and Fred, if they selectively enforce the law against him, if the government selectively enforce the law against him, he will have a lawsuit. As long as he's parking the cars within the proper time periods, they cannot single him out.
All law enforcement selective.
Spoken as a true attorney, Leo, a true civil rights attorney.
He's defending
I wanna be
anything
fair.
these days.
I feel good tonight. I feel good.
Well, you know what? You should feel good. And anybody that's watching right now, go on down to Leo's house, bring as many cars as you want, just park them all over the place. It's just fine. All right, Leo and Ron, thanks a lot, guys. I'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks very much.
Okay.